I moved into the high-rise in downtown Seattle because it was secure, modern, and required key fob access for every floor. There are 22 residential floors, clearly labeled in the elevator, plus the lobby and parking levels. I live on the 17th floor. The building is quiet at night, mostly professionals who keep to themselves. The first strange thing happened at 12:26 a.m. on a Thursday. I stepped into the elevator in the lobby after grabbing food from a late-night place down the street. I scanned my key fob and pressed 17. The doors closed normally. The elevator began moving upward. Everything felt routine until the digital display above the door flickered between 14 and 15. It hesitated briefly, then showed 16. Then instead of 17, it displayed 18. I frowned and assumed I misread it, but the elevator slowed and stopped. The doors opened. The panel above clearly showed 23. My stomach tightened. There is no 23rd floor in the building. I had seen the directory dozens of times. The buttons only go up to 22. I looked at the control panel. The highest visible button was still 22. There was no 23 button illuminated. The doors were open to a dimly lit hallway. The lighting was softer than the rest of the building, almost yellow instead of bright white. The carpet looked slightly darker. There were doors on both sides, identical layout to other floors, but something felt off. No sound, no distant TVs, no footsteps. I hesitated for a few seconds, then stepped out slowly. The elevator doors closed behind me without warning. I immediately turned around and pressed the call button beside the frame. Nothing happened. No indicator light, no mechanical sound. I pulled out my phone to check the building directory online, but I had no signal. Not even a flicker of service. That made no sense. The building always had reception. I looked down the hallway. The apartment number started at 2301. My chest felt tight. The numbering system matched the floor displayed above the elevator. I walked a few steps forward cautiously. The doors all looked normal, but none of them had doormats or decorations. No packages, no personal touches, just plain, identical doors. I knocked lightly on 2303. The sound echoed slightly longer than it should have. No response. I took a step back and noticed something that made my pulse spike. There were no peepholes in the doors. I was sure every floor in this building had peepholes. I turned toward the far end of the hallway. There was a window. I walked toward it quickly, needing to ground myself with a view of the city. But when I reached it, my stomach dropped. The window didn't show Seattle, it showed darkness. Not night skyline, not city lights, just black. Like the building wasn't above ground anymore. I stepped back slowly. My phone buzzed suddenly in my hand. A notification from the building app. Access granted, floor 23. My heart slammed against my ribs. I never requested that floor. I rushed back toward the elevator and pressed the call button repeatedly. After several seconds, I heard a soft ding behind me. Not from the elevator, from one of the apartment doors, 2311. The door had opened slightly, just an inch. I froze. The gap widened slowly. I couldn't see inside clearly, just darkness. Then a voice came from within, calm, familiar. "You're early." My throat went dry. The voice sounded like mine. Not distorted, not muffled. Exactly like my own voice recorded and played back. "What is this?" I whispered. The door opened another inch. "You're supposed to come up later," the voice continued. My pulse was racing so hard it made my vision blur. I took a step backward toward the elevator. The doors suddenly opened behind me. I didn't remember hearing it arrive. I spun around. The display above showed 17. I didn't hesitate. I stepped inside immediately and pressed 17 again. The doors closed quickly. As the elevator descended, the display showed 22, 21, 20, moving downward normally. When it reached 17, the doors opened to my familiar hallway. Bright white lights, normal carpet, familiar doors with peepholes and welcome mats. My phone signal returned instantly. I stepped out slowly, heart still racing. Before the doors closed, I glanced back at the panel. There was no 23 button, nothing above 22. I went straight to my apartment and locked the door behind me. I opened the building directory app again. It listed floors 1 through 22, nothing higher. I checked the access log in the app. At 12:26 a.m., it showed my key fob granted access to floor 23. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I asked the building manager casually if there had ever been a 23rd floor. He looked confused and said no, the structure only supports 22. He even pulled up the blueprints to show me. That night, at exactly 12:26 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A building notification. Elevator arriving, floor 23. I was standing inside my apartment on the 17th floor when I heard the elevator ding in the hallway outside. Then I heard my own voice, faint through the door. "You're late." The elevator ding echoed through the hallway outside my apartment at exactly 12:26 a.m., and I stood frozen in my living room staring at the door as my own voice drifted faintly through it, calm and patient, saying, "You're late." My heart slammed against my ribs so hard it made my vision pulse. I didn't move at first. I told myself it was someone else, a neighbor, a trick of acoustics. But then the elevator dinged again, closer this time, followed by slow footsteps on the hallway carpet. The steps were measured, unhurried, stopping directly outside my door. I stared at the peephole, fighting the urge to look through it. My phone buzzed in my hand with another building notification. Access granted, floor 23. I hadn't touched my key fob. I hadn't left my apartment. The handle on my door shifted slightly, just enough to make the metal latch click. I had the deadbolt locked and the chain secured. The handle moved again, slowly testing the resistance. Then my voice came through the wood again, clearer now. "You missed your stop." I stepped back from the door, shaking uncontrollably. I whispered, "Go away." But my voice sounded thin and distant compared to the one outside. There was a soft chuckle, identical to the way I laugh when something mildly amuses me. Then silence. Complete silence. I forced myself toward the door and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. Bright white lights, identical doors. No one standing there. The elevator at the end of the hall was closed. I exhaled slowly, trying to steady my breathing. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The hallway number plate on the wall read 2307. My chest tightened painfully. I blinked hard and looked again. 1707, the correct number for my floor. I stepped back, dizzy. My phone buzzed again. Elevator waiting. I opened the building app and the elevator status indicator showed a car stopped at floor 23. The doors were open. Waiting. My pulse pounded in my ears. I walked cautiously toward my apartment window and looked out at the city skyline to ground myself. The familiar view of Seattle stretched out below, lights glowing, traffic moving. Normal. Stable. I turned back toward my door and the lights in my apartment flickered once. Just a brief dip in brightness. Then my phone vibrated with a new message. This one wasn't from the building app, it was from my own number. "Come up." I stared at it in disbelief. There was no sent message in my log, no outgoing record, just the notification preview. Then the elevator ding sounded again, but this time it wasn't in the hallway. It was inside my apartment. I spun around toward the kitchen. The pantry door at the end of the wall was slightly open. I never leave it open. The gap widened slowly, just an inch at first, then 2. From inside the dark space beyond it, I saw the faint glow of an elevator display panel. Numbers flickering between 22 and 23. My breath caught in my throat. The pantry was no deeper than 3 feet. It couldn't possibly contain anything beyond shelves and canned goods. But the glow grew brighter. I heard the soft hum of elevator cables. The mechanical whir I recognized from riding it daily. My own voice echoed faintly from within the darkness. "It's easier if you step in." I felt like my mind was fracturing. I took one step backward. The pantry door suddenly swung fully open. Inside was no pantry. It was the dim, yellow-lit hallway from earlier. Apartment numbers beginning with 23, the same darker carpet, the same unnatural stillness. At the far end of that hallway stood me, or something wearing my face. standing straighter than I ever do, head tilted slightly to the right, watching. It raised one hand slowly and gestured toward itself, inviting me forward. "This is where you're supposed to be," it said in my voice, perfectly calm. My legs felt weak. The lights in my apartment flickered again, more violently this time. I stumbled backward and grabbed the pantry door, slamming it shut with all my strength. The humming sound cut off instantly. The apartment lights stabilized. Silence returned. I stood there shaking, staring at the closed door. Slowly, I reached out and opened it again. The pantry was normal. Shelves, cereal boxes, canned soup. No hallway, no elevator glow. My phone buzzed one last time that night. "We'll try again." I didn't sleep. I didn't use the elevator the next morning. I took the stairs down 17 floors. I avoided looking at the elevator display in the lobby, but as I passed it, I saw something in the corner of my eye. The digital panel flickered briefly between 22 and 23 before settling on 1. I've started taking the stairs every day now, but sometimes late at night, when the building is quiet and the city hum fades, I hear the faint ding of an elevator stopping somewhere above me. And through my ceiling, I hear my own voice calling softly, "You're still on the wrong floor." This was Midnight Whispers. If your building doesn't list a floor, make sure it isn't still waiting for you to step off on it.